Have you ever stopped to think about what it looks like when a country completely reinvents itself? We're going to dive into a really pivotal moment in American history, a time when three powerful forces all hit at once, sending the entire nation in motion and pretty much reshaping it from the ground up. So let's just jump right in with the big question. What actually happens when a whole nation starts moving at the same time? And I'm not just talking about trains and cars. I mean people, ideas, and cultures all colliding to create something brand new. Well, the answer really boils down to three huge interconnected currents that just swept across the country. You've got mass immigration from all over the world, you've got massive internal migration, people moving within the country, and then you have the explosive growth of cities, which we call urbanization. So let's break each one down. First up, let's talk about the Great Immigrant Wave. Just picture it, the turn of the 20th century. Millions, and I mean millions, of people are arriving from all over the globe, bringing their hopes, their dreams, their traditions, and in the process, they're fundamentally changing the face of America. And wow, the impact was just immense. These newcomers were the engine of industry. They filled a huge demand for workers in all these booming factories. They brought new foods, new languages, new music into the culture. And honestly, they were the fuel that supercharged the incredible growth of American cities. But, this kind of massive change is never completely smooth. It definitely caused some friction. The arrival of so many different groups of people, well, it also triggered a backlash. This is where we see a serious rise in what's called nativist sentiment, which is basically this feeling of favoring people who were born in the country and being really suspicious of foreigners. So you've got this flood of people coming to America, but at the exact same time, you've got millions of people moving within America. A lot of them were heading to the very same cities. The whole country was just churning, a nation on the move, from the inside out. You gotta remember, for the longest time, America was mostly a rural place. Farms and small towns, that was the norm. But that was all changing, and fast. There was this powerful, magnetic pull drawing Americans away from the farm and toward the cities. And what was the magnet? Jobs. The promise of a steady paycheck and a different kind of life. And that leads us to one of the most significant internal movements in the nation's history, the Great Migration. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a trickle. This was a massive, historic exodus of African Americans leaving the rural South and heading for the industrial cities of the North. So what was behind this incredible shift? Well, it was really a classic push-pull situation. There was a powerful push to escape the systemic discrimination and violence of the South. And at the same time, there was a strong pull from the North, the prospect of better paying jobs and a chance at a new beginning. And the arrival of hundreds of thousands of African Americans? It had a profound and lasting impact on these northern cities. It completely transformed them, economically and culturally, in ways that we can still see and feel all around us today. Economically, it worked on two levels. On one hand, these migrants filled vital roles in factories and industries as new workers. But they weren't just workers, right? They were also new consumers, buying things, starting businesses, and really helping to grow the urban economy from the inside. And the cultural impact? Oh, it was just explosive. This migration helped spark these incredible bursts of creativity, like the Harlem Renaissance. It forever changed the landscape of American art, music. I mean, this is where jazz and the blues really take off on a national scale. And literature. Just incredible. So let's take a step back. We have people coming from other countries. We have people moving from the American countryside. So where did they all end up? Well, their destination was overwhelmingly the same, the city. And that brings us to our third and final force, urbanization. And this right here, this really shows you just how dramatic that shift was. For the first time in its history, America was becoming a majority urban nation. The city was no longer just part of the American landscape, it was becoming the center of it. So, what was it actually like to live in one of these booming new cities? Well, it was a story of incredible contrasts. On one side, you had all this amazing promise. Skyscrapers reaching for the sky, new public transportation, a growing middle class. But on the flip side, you had some really severe problems. Terrible overcrowding, disease, poor sanitation, and rising crime. And as all these diverse groups poured into the cities, something really interesting started to take shape. You started seeing these distinct ethnic neighborhoods pop up.
places where immigrants could find a sense of community and support, creating this amazing, vibrant mosaic within the larger city. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. These three massive movements, immigration, migration, and urbanization, they weren't happening in a vacuum. They were all connected, feeding into each other, and forging a completely new, modern American nation. This table really sums it all up perfectly. Mass migration, it created a more multicultural nation. Internal migration, it completely redrew the country's cultural and economic map. And urbanization, that created a modern, city-centric society. Three forces, one incredible transformation. At the end of the day, the ultimate takeaway is this. The America that came out of this period was a whole different country from the one that went in. It was more diverse, more urban, and way more complex than ever before. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. All of this happened over a century ago, but the changes were so profound, they didn't just stop. It really makes you wonder, how do the echoes of this great transformation, of people moving from country to country and from farm to city, still shape our world, our culture, and our national identity today?